my name is Ian Mosley. I am the drummer with a band called Marillion.
Hello, I'm Steve Hogarth, and I'm the singer and lyricist in Marillion, and I sometimes play other things, but not very well.
Hello, my name is Steve Rothery. I play the guitar, allegedly.
Hi, my name is Pete Trewavas and I play the bass guitar.
Hi, I'm Mark Kelly and I play keyboards in the Scottish heavy metal band Marillion. That's not true. We're not Scottish heavy metal.
If Pink Floyd and Radiohead were to have a baby that was in touch with its feminine side, we'd be it. That's as close as I've ever managed.
It does have some things in common with Pink Floyd, but we very much have our own sound as well. You know, after 40 years of playing together, we've evolved and we have our own particular sound. The songs are quite long and lyrical. They usually have a strong theme or story to tell. Musically, yes, there are guitar solos, but I wouldn't call it heavy metal. Wouldn't call it heavy rock even. Some of it's very delicate. The best way is really just to listen to it.
We're more experimental than a straightforward rock band. We are classed as a progressive rock band, but we're not. We're much more of a rock band. We're quite orchestral in places. It's good music with intelligent lyrics, is what it is.
It's quite diverse, really. There don't seem to be boundaries.
Interesting, diverse, not just a load of 70s prog rock cliches, but something that takes the freedom that you have with a genre like prog and expands it in loads of different directions. It's just basically music without rules, really.
Oh, God.
We've released, well, it depends how you count them.
Hundreds.
I think Marillion have released 42, but I might be wrong. No, that's math. No, sorry. That's the amount of years I've been in the band.
20, I think.
If you count just the studio albums and not the acoustic albums or the live albums, I think it's about 19 or 20, but I could be wrong.
22, I'm going to say 22.
The first one was in 1983 and the most recent one was a year ago, so we've fairly consistently putting out new material for the last 40 years, which for any band is unusual to continuously release new music on a regular basis. I don't know many other bands that have been able to do that.
Well, we've done quite a few, as you've just heard, so it's hard to say.
It's like saying, what's your favourite child?
I tell you what's a good listen is the one we've just released called An Hour Before It's Dark, and that has a good selection of songs on it.
Well, it sounds like a cliche, but it really is An Hour Before It's Dark. It's my favourite Marillion release.
The usual answer when somebody gets asked what's your favourite album by yourself, usually, the most recent one, of course. But genuinely, I think it is one of our best. An Hour Before It's Dark. I think it's fairly accessible, probably more accessible than quite a lot of the other albums.
I mean, the latest album's always the freshest in your mind, and there's moments, especially with tracks like Crow and Nightingale, I think it's up there with anything we've done.
If that's not to your taste, or you want to delve back a bit, then I would say Afraid of Sunlight.
Afraid of Sunlight, maybe Marbles, maybe Brave, I don't know.
I really enjoyed, from the old stuff, Clutching at Straws. I thought that was a great album.
Most people will have heard Kaylee or Beautiful or Incommunicado, but I think if you can spare 45 minutes or 50 minutes to sit down and listen to An Hour Before It's Dark from start to finish, I think you might find it a rewarding experience.
They're children. I mean, I know that's a cliche, but they are my kids and I can't choose between them. They're all pretty hot shit.
You'd think so, wouldn't you, looking at us? But no.
Yes, Marillion is an old 80s band. Everybody knows that. Scottish heavy metal.
We are an old 80s band, we're also a 90s band and a noughties band and a whatever this decade is called band.
Yes? No.
Well, we're old. We're not quite 80.
We continue to make new music. Quite often a band is successful in a particular time. Let's say, I'm not going to name any bands because it's not fair really to them, and then they just play that music for the rest of their career. So they might continue playing for 30 or 40 years, but the songs they play will be the stuff from their first decade. We play stuff from our first decade, but not as much, not more than any other decade. And as I said, we've done 20 albums in the last 40 years. So there's quite a lot of music to choose from, and we do choose from it all. And I think that's what people expect from us when we play live. You know, they don't want to hear us just play the hits, and that's it.
We're current. We're more current than you would expect. Not both musically and lyrically. There's intelligence, as I said, there's integrity in what the band does, and we're always striving to move forward.
We've been going for a long time. I mean, what's great is that, you know, we're going out on tour still, and we're playing in its entirety. We played our last new album. There's not many bands that go out on the road these days that have been together as long as we have. Most bands these days go around and tour and just tend to be nostalgic and play all their old hits. Luckily we haven't had that many hits to play, so we're laughing.
We're not repeating the music we made in the 80s, so therefore we're not an 80s band. We're just a band who endure and change and evolve and try and find something fresh and interesting and exciting with every record. And I think there's a consistency to our work that kind of supports that.
We've done our damnedest to keep growing and changing and developing and pulling in different influences and going in different directions, and we've reacted to our own music, not just everybody else's. We've tried to get away from our own music with each new album, and rather than keep making the same record. So you've kind of got to. I mean, people are still getting into it, and I think if we were just an old 80s band, they might not be.
We're a better live band than most bands out there. And I think there's a lot of passion and energy in our performance. H is an amazing frontman, gives his heart and soul at every moment he's on stage. And just a great live band.
Well, the lights are very good, singer's amazing, band's all right, and the sound's usually very good. So, yeah, I'm sure other members of the band will have a slightly different take on that.
If you were to come and see Marillion and never seen it before, I think the thing that will strike you is how much the audience are enjoying it, how they show they're enjoying it, how they sing along to all the songs. You know, I've been to other bands' shows, and we are so fortunate that we have such a enthusiastic and appreciative audience. And I think, you know, as a new listener, if somebody came into a hall that we were playing, I think that's the thing that would strike them. They couldn't help but be impressed by how the audience reaction is to the band.
You'll be amongst lots of really interesting people. You'll feel safe in a Marillion crowd. You know, you go to some events and there's always an area of the crowd, a bit like in a football game, where you just don't always feel safe. You would in a Marillion crowd.
That's very difficult for me to know that, because I'm sitting behind a drum kit, and often I think, I don't know how we're getting away with this, and then after the gig someone will say that's one of the best gigs I've ever seen. So The band know nothing.
I think the Royal Albert Hall, actually, it's a bucket list venue, really. So to play that, and then to go back 2 years later and play it twice, that kind of shows you that there's a momentum to what we do, which in this stage of our careers is quite a thing.
I've got a couple of favourite shows probably. One of them, which is well documented, was the Zenith in Paris, the first one of the first proper major gigs that Steve Hogarth did with us when he joined. The reaction from the crowd was absolutely astounding. And then one of the first gigs I ever did with Marillion, I can't actually remember where it was. It was at a university somewhere, but I just remember sitting behind the kit and thinking, this is what it's about. It's a proper band. There's something special about this.
I'd say the show, the first time we played the Royal Albert Hall, is really up there, and it was just so amazing we managed to capture that on film. Other than that, some of the shows at the Zenith in Paris, Music Centrum, the Vredenburg in Utrecht. So many though, it is after 40 odd years, it's very hard to pick out a favourite, but there's just been moments that have been just so exceptional.
Don't think I have one. I mean, I always used to talk about the ones in Rio in 1990 because that was a time when everything just came together. The weather was amazing. We had lots of time off, so we were relaxed going into it. There was, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 people going apeshit in the crowd. I got to hang out with a load of stars, so that was a nice time. But whether that's, I mean, some of the shows we did in Montreal in a club called the Spectrum years ago were on a whole other level. But I don't think I could pin one down. First time we played Le Zenith in Paris was extraordinary on the Season's End tour. First couple of times we played the National Auditorium in Mexico City, they were also amazing. I remember doing Leeds doing Brave in the Town and Country Club in Leeds, and I remember that being incredible. But there's been so many. Montpellier is always great. Utrecht's always great. We've had some great shows in London. Royal Albert Hall with the friends from the orchestra. That was it. Got there. That one.
Well, they're all like-minded. They all just love the band. I mean, they are quite, they have this amazing faith in what we do.
The Marillion fan bases are just astounding. They're just all really nice people. Well, at least the ones I've met. They're fabulous, and it really has become a family.
They take what we do very seriously, in the sense that that I don't think it's possible to be a casual Marillion fan. Maybe it is, but for us, most of the people we meet that are fans usually have everything that we've released, usually know everything that we've released, and quite a lot of them come to more than one show on a tour. Some come to all the shows on a tour. So they take it very seriously, and it means a lot to them. I think the music means a lot to people.
Passionate, discriminating, a little crazy, in a good way, and a great energy in terms of an audience that you play to. The feeling you get back from the crowd is unlike any I've seen from any of the band.
Because of the way we encourage with our music, we encourage this kind of spiritualness and this way of thinking about, you know, the world and trying to make it a better place to live in and for everybody else to live in amongst you, and so they kind of take that on board, and that's the kind of feeling you get when you see them.
Impassioned, faithful, extremely loyal to us, willing to go with the music as we've changed it, and as it's grown and moved around, they've gone with it. A great many of the fans have said that our music's been the soundtrack to their lives and has reflected their own life situations as they've grown old or grown up. And so it's like it's more like a congregation in a church than it is fans in a gig. It is like a strange kind of church that we're running.
Yeah, it's always nice to meet young fans. You know, people, when somebody comes up and asks you to sign something or do a selfie or whatever, and they're clearly in their 20s, you know, you think, wow, I wonder how this person discovered Marillion, because it certainly wasn't on TV or the radio. And I think that's one positive has come out of the whole, you know, internet revolution and the streaming revolution and the way that the Spotify algorithms serve up new music. There must be a certain amount of discovery happening by young people of Marillion's music, which is great. I really like it to see. And of course, then there's the children of the previous generation of fans that have been brought along by their parents or have grown up listening to Marillion. So it is nice, but it's also really nice to see people that have been following us for 40 years and they're still coming. You know, that's somehow better, really.
Well, we have various places.
Well, the obvious thing, I suppose, is to go to marillion.com, but of course there's YouTube, and there's probably, you know, there's a ton of stuff on YouTube.
That's what I do. I go onto YouTube for a couple of minutes and end up hours on there trawling through stuff.
But we are on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Are we still on Twitter?
Of course, if you just want to listen to the albums, just go to Spotify or Apple Music or whatever.
Well, if I was them, I would just go on YouTube and have a look at the space from Royal Albert Hall. That's the thing I tend to play people if they say, what do you do? I go, look at this, and people always go, oh my God. So that was us at our very best, I think.